Okay, I hope you guys are doing well and excited to begin reading The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And it's one of my favorite books that we read in this class just because I so enjoy meeting the characters and kind of hearing how their stories all intertwine. And I also really enjoy the way that F. Scott Fitzgerald uses language and imagery and just all the different things that he includes that really make this reading interesting and really quite beautiful. I think this is a much simpler book to read. I think that you guys will enjoy it because of the most recent fascination rather with the 1920s. The dialect is definitely easier to read than what you guys saw with Huck Finn, so it should be enjoyable. Anyway, what I want you guys to be doing with this Great Gatsby focus activity is to be entering some initial impressions of the character or the story element as you are reading. This is going to be something that is just going to have to be, as you read, maybe having this open so that you can type into it, or if you're more of a print off and write into it kind of person, that would work too. But to write down those initial impressions. So, for instance, when you look through the information that I provided about The Great Gatsby and F. Scott Fitzgerald, you may be able to share your initial impressions being something about how F. Scott Fitzgerald's life really reflects in the pieces that he wrote. So for it, what you could potentially put in here is that through the PowerPoint, goodness, I'm having trouble here. So you would write something about your initial impressions. And it's very hard for me, obviously, to type when I know that someone's going to be reading this. But anyway, so talking about how the PowerPoint that kind of has information about Fitzgerald, we learned that he really does use his life as a catalyst, as a basis for which he writes his stories. If you're going through and you look at Nick Carraway, you're going to do a couple of different things. Actually, for Nick Carraway, for Jay, for Daisy, for Tom, for Jordan, Myrtle, George, Owl Eyes, Clipspringer, there's lots of information. Really, all of the information that all of these different things that you see here, you're going to look in a couple of different places. Now, your impressions are going to be the things that you feel like you've learned about the character just based off of that first time that they're mentioned in the story, or the first piece of dialogue that they have. There's lots of different things to look at. But the other thing that you could do is you could go into D2L, which I'm going to do now, and look at, if you go all the way up to the top, this information that I provided about the book prior to the reading. So it is important that you read through all this information. You'll note that some of the pieces are underlined. They are the most important parts of the descriptions of these characters. But I want you to read through these things and understand a little bit about the person. But then as you go through and you work on this particular assignment, you're going to add those initial impressions. So I'll tell you right off the bat, the very first page deals with Nick Carraway. He's introducing the idea of him as the narrator of the book. He's talking about past conversations with his father and experiences that have led him to become what he believes to be the most moral person he knows. And you're going to notice that as we continue reading throughout The Great Gatsby, that his morals and his beliefs often are the way that we view society, and we view his friends, Jay and Daisy and Tom and Myrtle and George and Jordan, and all of those experiences rolled into one. So you're going to have the informational pieces that I've given you to read prior to this point, but you're also going to have your own thoughts. So is Nick really a good moral compass? Do we think that he's kind of uppity or snotty for thinking that he is a moral compass or more moral than anyone else? When you look at Jay, you're going to see some information about him, but how does that impress upon you as the reader? So this is going to be kind of an interesting thing. I'm interested to see what you guys come up with as far as your initial impressions. But notice that there's plenty of room for you to add things as you go along. So if your initial impressions change, add those. As we get further down into the sheet, you'll see that these become motifs and themes. So the decline of the American dream in the 1920s. This might be when you reflect what's the very first mention of the American dream. Um, whose American dream do you think that we're following? Here with the hollowness of the upper class, taking some notes about when the upper class acts hollow. What are the places that they do that? What are the ways in which they act hollow? How does that affect people around them? Is there a difference between the way old money and new money act and their hollowness? Same thing with geography. How does where the characters are currently located affect the scene? The weather. Again, you'll notice that the weather is described only in specific scenes. And what are those scenes and how does that change it? And then so on. The green light, the Valley of Ashes, and the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. All of these being symbols. So when are these symbols mentioned and what do they mean? So I'm looking for you to just kind of take notes as you read. These notes are going to help you potentially put together good discussion ideas. They can help you with the quotes that you'll be asked to look at, quizzes that you'll be asked to take. So as you read, go ahead and start putting in your initial impressions. And this will help start focusing your reading as far as what it is you're supposed to notice about these people. If you have any questions, please let me know. But think about these characters and how they make you react. What do you think when you first meet them?